Hello everyone. Let us begin with the most basic thing, that is logging on to SAP. You should have something like SAP Logon GUI button on your desktop. If you don't, you can also go to Start, All Programs, scroll down to the SAP folder and click on SAP Logon. Both of these ways will take you to the SAP GUI. So you can either click on the SAP Logon on the desktop, that's a shortcut, or you can scroll down to the Programs menu. Now you'll have a list of systems, more than one listed, and you have to select the system to which you want to log on. So every system is identified by a unique SID, which is system identifier. So depending on your landscape, you might have one or more than one systems. Double clicking on the system name will launch the SAP GUI, or as it is called, SAP Graphical User Interface. So let's launch it. By default, it will populate a client to which you are supposed to log on. This would be the default client, but you might be able to log on to other clients also if you have more than one. So many times clients have numbers like 100, 200, 300, different numbers depending on your architecture. You can ask your basis team which client you're supposed to log on. Client is nothing but a logical database. So you might have 100 client as the one where you're supposed to do development work, another client where you are supposed to do security work, and then another client where you are supposed to do configuration work. Another client can be a training client. Each of these clients will have separate databases, logical databases, and will store the business data in it separately. You will log on to the client using your username password, which I'm entering right now. Now, if you're entering the password for the first time, the system will prompt you for a change of password. If you're already logged on, then the system will give you a message like this, that you need to close the other logon if you want to log on with the same username and password to this session. So let's do that. It's saying change your password only once a day. Okay. So let us look at the SAP GUI. This is called the menu bar. This is where you're supposed to enter the transaction. So for example, SU01 will take you to user maintenance. VK01 will take you to condition type. ME23N will take you to display a purchase order. MK01 will take you to create vendor. As you can see, what I'm entering here in this text box is called a transaction. Each transaction is associated with a subtask in SAP. A transaction is a very easy and fast way to reach to a particular screen. If you don't want to use transaction, there is another way, which is the drill down method. So you go to SAP menu here and you go to the transaction by drilling down on the process module. So you can see I went to SAP menu, tools, administration, and now I want to maintain a user. So I click on user maintain, and again it shows you here that it's SU01 users, and I can double click on it. So instead of having those 4-5 clicks, I can directly say take me to SU01. Now the reason I'm putting /n in the beginning of each transaction is take me to that screen even when I'm at a different sub process of business. Now if you go to the top menu here, you don't need to enter /n. Here you can directly do SU01, but or you can also do, this is the top menu, you can also do PFCG and there is no need to enter /n. So you can enter any transaction here and you don't need to put /n. But when you're already in one of the transaction mode, for example SU01, and now you want to go to a transaction, say PFCG, that's a bad example, but let's say you want to go to VK01, it won't take you because it's not at the top menu level. So if you're not at the top menu level, you'll have to enter /n, and then it will understand that you need to go to a new transaction. That's the way it works. This button, like I clicked, is to take you back to the main screen, main menu. This is to log off, and this is to cancel the transaction. If I want to save something, if I create something, then the save button gets enabled. That's to save any data that I enter. This is to find data. That's the search button. This is the next search button. This is the scroll. This is the create new session button. So in SAP, it allows you to open up to 6 sessions. So if I click this, here I can work on VK01, and I can just do an Alt tab and continue working on SU01, which I initiated before this. I can open one more session and I can start something like ME21N, which is the create purchase order transaction, and I can create a purchase order in this particular session. So I can go up to 6 sessions, or I can go for 6 parallel tasks. That's the concept of session. This generates a shortcut for you. F1, or you can either click this question mark button for help, or you can click on F1 on your keyboard, which will take you to help. So let me go ahead and do that. And this has popped up the SAP help within the application. Again, just entering /n will take you to the main menu, and What is this green button for? So you can either use the enter button on keyboard or you can click on this. So I type a transaction and I say enter. It takes me to the transaction screen. So now we are familiar with the SAP client. We know now how to log on to SAP. We understand transaction concept. We also understand what is client, and we'll touch upon transaction and client more in detail in further down the course. We also understand that the system will prompt us for initial password and how to do that. We also understand how to navigate in SAP. Let us look at how to set favorites and how to print. So going back to SAP client. Again, I want to go back to the main menu. So I just do /n and say enter. It takes me to the main menu. This is how SAP menu looks. You can toggle between SAP menu and user menu. Now in this scenario here, you're saying there is no change, but what the user menu, which is grayed out here, stands for, what it does is basically it shows you only those transaction and menu for which you are authorized and for which you have roles. It doesn't show you the entire universe of SAP like it's showing right now in SAP menu. So you can go to any of the transactions right now, but this is SAP menu. User menu will only give you the transactions which you're authorized to. So let us understand the concept of favorites. There would be some transactions which you will use on a recurring frequent basis. So it's a better idea to add them to favorites. How do you add a transaction to favorites? You simply drill down to the transaction. So I go to tools, administration, go to administration, S license. Maybe I use this on a frequent basis. I just right click on the transaction and I say add to favorites, and it goes to my favorites menu. So every time you don't need to drill down on the menu, you have a favorites menu and it's easier to launch next time. Let us look at a particular report. SC16 transaction is to view tables. You just give the table name, for example USR02. You click enter, and maybe you want to look at the top 10 records. Execute, and if you like this report and you want to take a printout of this, you just click on print, and it will ask you for the printer device. LP01 generally stands your default printer or the printer which is set on your Windows machine. Clicking this or say enter button will print the report for you. That's the basic of navigation.